Well, welcome to Detroit in Black and White, our Wednesday edition. I'm Adolph Mongo, Allan Lengel from Deadline Detroit, Vanessa Moss, attorney Vanessa Moss, and candidate for 36th District Court. Right in, Vanessa Moss. How y'all doing today?
We're doing just great.
All
Hey,
right, all right.
Allan.
Hey,
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 Adolph.
hey, hey.
But you know what? I want to say something. Usually, we do this on our Saturday show about the outrage,
Outrage,
but
yeah.
I want to talk about the heroin addict that ran for president, who has a tapeworm that ate half his brain, and that killed a bear or whatever he was doing. He Now he has attacked the vice president, saying that she can't speak English, can't write
Yes.
a complete sentence. So he ran and joined the Trump team of taking an intelligent black woman who was well educated, has had a great career, called her a dummy and a stupid and everything else. The guy is out of his fucking mind, you know.
No
And
question.
that
That's a
ain't even an
disgrace.
outrage. A junkie, a fucking junkie, that's running for.
But Adolph, let me say this. You say that he's a effing junkie. You know, if we take it as true, that's a disease. Okay. And so, I think that we have to be careful when we're calling people names like that. And I agree. Wait a minute.
I'm not gonna be careful because they go low. I'm digging a hole.
Listen,
I'm
you're gonna
sorry.
be like,
I'm sorry.
wait a
I'm
minute,
gonna think worse than them. I'm being
Allan,
worse than them.
like he's gonna be like the late Eric Mays. When they go low, I go lower.
No, I'm digging a fucking grave for this asshole. Listen. This is the playbook that they use during slavery. That slaves were lazy. Here, slaves built up the country, but they was lazy. Jim Crow. These black women and black men raised these white racists. The black women, they sucked on the breasts of black women all throughout the South, and here we are. Today we still dealing with the same shit. Allan, you Jewish, and you still hear some of the same stereotypes that they say about Jews. And we got should we just sit here and not respond and say, oh, they full of shit, or do we respond to it?
Right. Well, I think it is. I think it's a disgrace to the Kennedy legacy. And he's riding on that legacy, and his family is, appalled by it.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that he's decided to play along on Team Trump and just say stupid things about. I mean, Kamala Harris is any. I mean, she's incredibly articulate, bright. I think there's never been a question of whether she can complete a sentence that he's trying to suggest. It's just, look, Trump's a racist. And so Trump is going to dance around the N-word this whole campaign until one day he may blurt out the word itself. But he's going to do everything to circle around that and send the message that he doesn't like that he's running against a black person. So,
Oh wow.
that's my.
So Adolph, is that your outrage for today?
No, that's not my outrage. That's
Okay.
just because my outrage is that I gotta get on, watch the news, and another mass shooting at a high school
Georgia.
with a
In Georgia.
14-year-old.
Right.
Here we are. But you know what? If the outrage was this weekend in Novi at the state fair,
Stay
two
fair, 14-year-old.
14-year-old,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
So when of this shit is gonna end? And you know what? It's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Two teachers, two students, and several others have been shot down like a dog. And the 14-year-old, he surrendered. He should be dead. He shouldn't. They should have just shot his ass, but they didn't.
Oh, I don't know about that. I will say that I did read that there's a legislature there in Georgia, as well as the sheriff there. They stand behind giving teachers like a $10,000 stipend. They be able to carry guns in the to school, and I just don't think that is the answer. I think
But these people are delusional. I was in the Marine Corps. If you got a gun and you catch somebody off guard, I don't care what you carrying. If you got a gun in your purse or a gun in your desk, and somebody come in your room and start shooting, you ain't got time. This is not the Wild West where you staring down somebody, they pull their gun, you pull your gun. It don't work like that. It do not work like that.
I think it's interesting with the. I mean, they asked. I was listening to CNN, and they asked one of the teenage girls at the school. Said, "Do you have metal detectors?" I hate to say it, but every school should have a metal detector. At least take some precautions. I mean, every school in the city has it, and the suburbs think they're too good to have metal detectors. But we're seeing there's no boundaries in terms of where these guns are coming from, and they're coming. The NRA is so pushing for gun rights and the ability to easy access to guns, and that's what we're seeing is easy access to guns for 14-year-olds. Something's wrong, and we scream every time, and then we see some of the politicians say prayers are with you, but that's bullshit. We need to start figuring out ways to make our schools safer, and also have some type of gun control. It's too
well,
easy.
okay, so you make the school safer. You put in metal, metal detectors, etc. You hire more people. I even read where they're talking about getting more mental health professionals, but you don't find out that they're mentally ill until after the deed is done. Not trying to be funny or anything. So I don't know. I really don't know what the answer is. So the 14-year-old that was killed here in Michigan at the state fair, what's the answer to that? Even if they had
They took a Uber. They took a Uber to the state fair.
yeah.
They took a Uber to the state fair to shoot somebody. It's
What, what
like
I what I find interesting is that happened in Novi, and people were really shocked because they expect for things like that to happen in the D, right? Right?
yeah.
And it didn't happen in the D. They moved the state fair out of the city, moved it into the burbs, and the same kind of violence, the same kind of crime happens everywhere as we see.
Listen, when
Yeah.
Lengel, when we were up in, you were at Michigan State, I was at in Ann Arbor. We was isolated from the community. Very seldom did the college students and the locals. They did mingle a little bit, but it wasn't no way they do it now.
Right.
None of that stuff came up on campus. You didn't worry about somebody riding up on campus shooting up Ann Arbor or East Lansing. Nowadays, no matter where you go, it don't matter what campus you are. You got somebody shooting somebody, and you got folks that's not students on campus.
Right.
Either they shoot a student or they don't. Look at the gymnast from University of Wisconsin, some campus in the suburbs of University of Wisconsin. Her ex-boyfriend, who was a wrestler there at the school, he shot her to death.
Right.
Now that's a suburban campus.
Right.
So what are we dealing with? I mean, just he killed a girl. It's just like no big deal.
Human life. That's what we're dealing with. People have no regard for human life. Human life is not valued anymore.
Well, here's the thing. I know we talk about gun control. We say there's so many guns out there, can't control it. But the problem is people who maybe legitimately are just walking down to the corner store buying a gun, their house gets robbed, whatever. It's so easy to get guns, and it gets in when we're seeing 14-year-olds shooting. I mean, look at Oxford. The kid was 15 years old. The parents bought him a fucking gun for Christmas. It's insane. The whole gun culture here is like we've got to fear guns, not look, I'm not saying there shouldn't be a Second Amendment, the right to own a gun, but there should be restrictions there.
Well, when you say there should be restrictions, what kind of restrictions are you talking about? What would you suggest?
I think there should be. I mean, if you're going to get a gun license, I think there should be an interview process. I think people should make a determination if you're, can have a gun, much like maybe you take a driver's test, like if you're capable of driving, if you're sane enough to drive and obey the laws. I think there should be some questions raised about that.
Don't they? So, in order to get a CPL, in order to carry a gun, a license to carry a gun, don't you have to take a test? Don't you have to have some kind of?
You're supposed to take some training.
Have some kind of litmus test. So we do have that.
There's supposed to be, but also there's straw purchases where people with felony convictions get their cousins to go to gun shows. Whatever. You can order gun. I can buy a gun from you. I don't think I have to go through any screening process for that. I think.
But Allan, but the America been debating this shit since 1963 when the shooter at University of Texas, what he killed 20-something people. He just got up on a tower and just start mowing down folks.
Right.
Why do a person need a weapon that can fire 30, 40, 50, 60 rounds in 2 minutes or so? I can go into, say, a club that's 40 people there and I can kill all of them in a matter of 2-3 minutes. It's unfucking believable.
Yeah. Well,
so
I think that people who carry them, I mean, I've talked to people, it makes them feel, some people it makes them feel powerful. A lot of people say it makes them feel safe. I mean, as a practitioner, I see a whole lot of carrying concealed weapons, especially in the city of Detroit, because I do, work here in the city of Detroit. And it's like passing out lollipops. I mean, I'm talking about passing out these charges. Carrying concealed weapons. I've had a client who said, look, I live in a very dangerous neighborhood. People get robbed all the time. I carry a gun because I want to, if somebody does something to me, I want to be able to protect myself. So it's not as if people don't give good reasons as to why they carry. I think the onus is on us as people. We don't, like I said, there's no regard for human life.
What is these 14-year-olds doing with guns? What are they doing with guns?
Remember, I told a story not too long ago about a young man who we had a guest on the show about a young man who lives in the 48205 area code, and he carries a gun. He goes out and get food for the family because the mother's not using the EBT card that we as taxpayers are paying for. She's not using it to give the kids meals. So he's out there trying to make not a living, but he's out there doing what he needs to do. He feels like he needs to do to take care of his siblings. And this is a kid. So what's going to happen? You're either going to end up killing somebody or somebody's going to end up killing you.
Oh, he's going to be locked up.
We have had a ban before. It expired, but we had a ban on assault weapons where you're saying like 30 rounds, 40 rounds, 50 rounds. We don't need that. And I don't know why there's a continual insistence by the NRA and other groups that we should be able to have access and be able to buy those kind of guns. Not every mass shooting involves an assault weapon or AR-15 or whatever, but a lot do. And it makes it a lot easier to unload, and it makes it a lot easier to kill more people.
Okay, we're gonna take a quick break and come back, continue conversation. Let's talk about the election and where you think is heading.
Neighborhood beautification. That's very important to Detroit. It's very important to block clubs, organizations, and people who live in the community. We got started with 2 lots and a vision of a treehouse center. Because if we can take these blighted lots, Detroit give us grants to be able to do something with them that the community wants, it's a plus because we're bringing our neighborhoods back to where we want them to be, where they should be. All because I live in Detroit.
In the heart of Detroit, Bruce Simpson. Our city ombudsman and his team are dedicated to making your voice heard. The City of Detroit Ombudsman is a liaison between the City of Detroit and all persons who have a complaint or inquiry into the operation of a city department or the conduct of a city employee. The Ombudsman works as an independent oversight to provide individuals with an opportunity of giving a confidential avenue to address complaints. You can reach the Ombudsman's office at 313-224-6000 or email us at ombudsmandetroitmi.gov. You can also visit us at the Coleman A. Young Municipal Center. For more information, go to www.detroitmi.gov and type in Ombudsman. We are here to help. In Detroit, we are all one team. When you win, we all win.
Go ahead.
Hey, Teresa, do we put up okay, there we go. I just want a real quick outrage is the coverage, the media coverage, the local, the Detroit News, the Free Press, all the stations. I mean, first of all, I'd like to see the papers analyze some of these commercials that we're being bombarded with. It's like Alyssa Slotkin supported giving checks to like Larry Nassar and stuff like that. And I looked that up, and there's an explanation is that the thought was that it was passed by Congress, that some of the people who are inmates have to, have a need to help support their family, and they need some money. And then I don't know all the other ads that we're being bombarded with, but the local media is doing a horrible job. And the other thing is, look, these candidates are coming in and out. We're going to see them all the time. We can't be a stenographer for everything Trump says, World War III, or even Kamala Harris. I mean, we don't have to be doing dictation for whatever they say. Let's get some different angles. Let's get a little bit more.
Lengel, you've been in here long enough to know all that shit is bullshit. And when I ran a campaign, I remember when Joanne Watson ran against Gil Hill for city council, we did a commercial, and the commercial said, and I used my voice, said for 12 years, Gil Hill sat on the Detroit City Council. What did he do in 12 years? And during his time, thousands of people left Detroit. During his time, the state took over the school system. During his time, I blame him for everything and the plague. That's the name of the game. Gil Hill got on TV. He was about to cry. He said, they blaming me for everything. They blaming me for Jim Crow. They blaming me for this. Yeah, that's the way the game is played. But you're absolutely right, Allan. It's a lot of bullshit that Alyssa Slotkin delivered a check to Larry Nassar. Yeah, right.
I'd like to see an explanation of that.
I was talking to somebody today, and they told me that a relative of theirs said that they can't stand Kamala Harris because she is sending checks to all these. She's giving checks to all these immigrants from Venezuela, and helping them to be housed. I mean, and I'm like, where did you find this on the dark internet? But it's some of these things that people repeat, and they say it with, they really believe it, which I said to somebody today. I said, this just goes to prove that people believe what they want to believe.
And then look, we've got the indictment. We just had an indictment of some Russian media executives who are sending media stuff to a company in Tennessee. So they're flooding with more disinformation, and people believe it because it's on the internet.
People want to believe it. They want to believe it.
If you already don't like an individual, if you already in your mind say, hey, I don't like this individual, anything that you see the negatives, that is going to help feed, like, see, that's why I don't like that person. See, that's why I'm not supporting that person. or that's why I'm not supporting that issue. I mean, that's the way it is. And as
Well,
I've said, I mean, that's the game. It's a dirty game. It's a nasty game. They call it politics, but we call it politics. And in fact, that's what it is.
well, Lengel's not a citizen of the U.S. Lengel was born on a little island somewhere off in Antarctica. You know, he's ineligible to run for president. And you know what? Some of the shit. Yeah, but you know what? But people want to believe that. Oh, you're not from here. You're not. You're that. You know. You wasn't born here. You know what?
I see some of the papers saying, "Oh, well, we don't have proof that Kamala worked at McDonald's." It's like, I'm sorry,
it wasn't on her resume when she ran for attorney general.
40, yeah, why is it suddenly up now? 40 years ago, she worked at McDonald's before there were really computer records. Do you think that, you know how many million, there's like 2 million employees at McDonald's around the world currently, and you know how many tens of millions of people since she was worked there have been there? You think they keep a file and say, oh, she worked the ice cream and French fries store.
Hey, I worked at Yankees department store. I worked at Yankees department store. Remember Yankees?
Yeah,
Yankees shop, Shoppers Fair, Tops. I worked there in high school. What did I do?
It was in the store, didn't you?
What I stole?
What you were stealing?
No, I didn't.
Stuff and stealing. No.
Adolph was honest.
Yeah, right.
Adolph was honest.
I was honest. I had a paper route. I didn't put that on my resume that I had a Detroit News paper route that I worked at Yankees. But anyway, let's quickly go to the election.
Well, that's a good point. Just one thing where he says, you know, like my music says, and why is it so hard for them to believe she worked at McDonald's? It's not like she worked for the CIA in a special unit. You know, worked at fucking McDonald's like millions and millions of Americans.
Prove that you worked at McDonald's. Anyway, Vanessa, who's going to win Michigan? And is it that close? And as Harris' campaign, as they got what it takes to get over the hump here?
You know what? I think the race is going to be very close. Contrary to what the media says, you know, she's these many points ahead. I think this is going to be a really tight race. I really do.
I think she is going to win, but I think one of the things that they had, she's doing a lot. I mean, it's great. You know, she's doing all these ads about hope and policy and stuff like that, and it's good. But, you know, Trump's ads are very negative, like Kamala Harris is dangerous. She's bad for America, blaming all the shit on her.
If Adolph was working for that part, he was one of those kind of ads.
I think that you can't treat Trump totally like a totally legitimate candidate. He's got 34 felony convictions. He was part of an insurrection on January the 6th.
He be treated as a legitimate candidate.
Well, I'm just saying, when you treat him, when you just debate him on policy instead, and you excuse the character, he was in civil court, basically convicted in civil court of rape.
And they don't care.
Yeah, but his foundation was shut down in New York for fraud. His university was shut down for fraud. And there's a character issue there. You can't be all on issues.
They don't care.
But I'm saying that it can't be all on issues. It has to be on character as well. You know. Well,
the game is they have been doing this since George Washington. Alexander Hamilton stopped Aaron Burr from being president because he put out a rumor that Aaron Burr, who ended up being vice president, who later killed Hamilton in a duel, that Aaron Burr and Aaron Burr's daughter was having an affair. They put that out back then. That Thomas Jefferson was dogged by having a black mistress and babies by him. He was dogged. Abraham Lincoln, they said his mama was a mulatto, and his daddy wasn't really his daddy. And listen, they've been doing that since politics was born in this country, and it's just gotten worse. It ain't And listen, if you read a history book, man, this ain't the worst shit. Grover Cleveland, as governor, had a baby by a woman, and when during the election, they put her in a damn asylum, got her out the way, and people were saying, "Mama, where's Pa?" That's what they was. But when he won, they said, "Gone to the White House." Ha ha ha. So they've been doing that forever, man. That
Right.
shit.
So wait a minute. Let me ask you this though, because you started off with the question. You asked me, did I think this? Who did I think would win Michigan if it was going to be close? I said close. Allan answered. You didn't.
Well, I think if they don't get a ground game for the vice president, she might lose this shit. It's good to see the commercials, but they play the same commercials, 100 commercials for her, 100 for Donald Trump, and you get tired. You start flicking the shit off if you're watching it, and I don't need to watch it, but you got to get the people out to vote. You got to go and get folks that hasn't voted in since Obama. That's who she need to get.
Do you think?
And the churches.
Ask you guys this: do you think that people are really motivated now to go out and vote like they did? They felt like they were.
No. They listen. They got a high when she came in. It's like hitting a joint. Woo! That felt good. But now you just sitting there smoking, and you're in a daze now. Shit.
I think some of that high is gonna level out. They have to, as you said.
I think it's already leveled out.
I think you have to go to the churches. You have to be out there all the time, and if not with surrogates. I mean, look, they've got Obama, they've got other, they've got Joe Biden, who I think is still, a viable candidate out there, at least to bring in votes.
Grandpa is asleep right now. He's not doing nothing.
Well, he's out there. He's been out there. So I think you have Michelle Obama. You have some powerful surrogates out there who could really be hitting places like, look, Michigan is a big deal. Pennsylvania is a big deal.
Wisconsin, Arizona.
It looks like Florida's going to play a little bit in this because
they're all takeable.
Things going on in Florida.
They're very, very close right now, but I think the momentum is still with her, but it's not moving as quickly as it was before. Alyssa Slotkin, they just came out with
as quickly, or do you think it's not moving as forcefully?
Well, it might be one and the same. I think it might not be much of a distinction there, but I see Alyssa Slotkin has gone up in the polls. She was ahead by 5 percentage points, and Mike Rogers now is 8.5 percentage points. So she's headed.
Polls don't vote though.
Yeah, I agree, but you can't ignore them totally.
No, you don't.
Your question.
Go ahead.
I saw an article in a paper, I believe it's a digital paper, Deadline Detroit. I think I've heard of that paper before. And there's this guy named Adolph Mongo who wrote this very scathing article about John James being in Howell, Michigan with the former president of the United States, who's now a candidate for the Republican Party. What's your take on that, Allan?
I think it's interesting. I mean, it's a fair shot. I mean, look, when Trump was asked, why are you doing it here in Howell, Michigan, with all the racism and stuff, and he said, "Who came here in 2021 to speak?" And he was saying Joe Biden, but these are white guys. Here's John James, who's a black guy, maybe should be a little bit more sensitive to that.
But like I said in the article, if I had a fucking press conference at Auschwitz right now and had a rally, what would happen? People would go berserk, and Trump is going to all these places around America where there was lynchings, Jim Crow, whatever. He's sending a message to those people that I'm with you. That I'm with you. It's okay to hate, and we're gonna hate. It's like Reagan. Reagan announced that he was running for president in Philadelphia, Mississippi, where they murdered 3 civil rights workers. So yeah, so they know what they're doing.
And Reagan became the president of the United States.
Yeah, I want to address Marlon Holt says, why is the Fed giving resources to people breaking the law? First of all, look, the border issue is a bipartisan issue. It was a bipartisan bill to add, I don't know, how was it, 1,500 more people on the border to try to control things, to try to process people through the legal system there. And Trump told the House, do not bring that up for a vote. He wanted to use that. And so, I mean, look, it's not that Biden and Kamala Harris are blameless, but, there's a lot of blame to go around, including Trump, particularly Trump, who's trying to sabotage it for the election so he'll look better, which is really disgraceful, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, Vanessa, how do people catch us? Go ahead.
Oh, absolutely. If you are watching, we want you to like, subscribe, and share. For those that are watching, thank you so much. I'm reading the comments. Karen Winston. I forgot the name of the person who he was making comments now. But thank you so much. They said that we should be talking about the gap, the divide between homelessness and the middle class. Thank you so much for that comment. But getting back to what Adolph asked, if you are watching, you can watch on Wednesdays. You don't like my music. Hey, you don't like my music. You can watch our show every Wednesday at 8:30 in the evening or Saturday mornings from 10 to 11 o'clock. On Saturdays, we're at McShane's on the corner of Trumbull and Michigan Avenue. You can like, subscribe, and share. You can catch us on all platforms. You can also catch any of the other episodes at www.detroitinblackandwhite.com.
Yes, and we also take our show on the road, and we go to places like the David Whitney and the Guardian Building, and wherever else we've been invited to. Thank you, Allan, Vanessa, and all the listeners and the viewers.
Somebody asked me, how will I feel if you lose your election because illegals voted you out?
That's
an
unfair.
It's unfair. But let me say this.
Yeah.
First of all, I feel like anybody who puts themselves out there to run for an office, you're not a loser, okay? Because you're really putting yourself out there. Second, people need to understand this, that I am not one of those people, because there are people who run it because they're running for paychecks, they want stability, they're unhappy. I like what I do for a living. I'm very happy with what I do for a living. So if it doesn't come into fruition, which I don't believe that it will not come into fruition, I will continue to do what I do, which is work in the community, get my name out there. And if I want to run again, that's what I will do.
Okay, Allan, you got the last word. Go ahead.
Go Lions.
Fuck the Lions. We'll be back on Saturday.